Prepare to strike.
Today we're going to be drawing Eva, one of my own original characters from my upcoming series. So if you're wondering why the sketch isn't there, it's because it actually got lost, simply because I forgot to actually press the record button before I started drawing. So if I could find it, I'll probably put it in the video. Notice that I have a few references. I have that Captain Falcon hand reference, the foreshortening reference, because if you don't use references, you're at a disadvantage. You need it. Humans can't remember everything off the top of their heads, so that's why you need references in order to, get the thing that you want in your own drawing without having to slave to remember it. Do mental torture to yourself. For the head, it was actually pretty hard to get right because I'm doing the dreaded point of view looking up angle where you're on the bottom and the character is above you. So for realistic styles, you would draw the lower chin just like how it is on regular humans, but since I'm doing this cartoon/anime style, they don't really do that because when you do it, it really looks weird. So I try to make the face just high enough so that it looks like you're looking up, but you won't have to draw the lower chin. Okay, so now we're on the line art phase. I progressively found it more and more fun as I progress in my own digital art career to do line art because it was kind of like a dreaded task that I didn't really know how to do before, but now that I know the techniques of my own tablet and doing CSP for a long time, I can do pen pressure properly and stuff like that, and I really know how to stylize it and actually have fun with it. And if you're wondering why the line art is a little more pixelated than regular, it's because on CSP, it's actually a lot easier to do raster line art, like pixelated line art, because the fill tool is raster. It won't pick up every little line of vector. If you were to use like a more blended, or I mean anti-alias tool, like a pencil or something, yes, it would look better in the line art phase, but it'd be super tedious to color it because it would only color to the point of where the pen stops, but where the pen stops is not that clear because it's blended, it's anti-alias. So that's why I go with more pixelated line art, and I honestly think it looks really good for my style, so I don't really mind it. And I actually went back to pen pressure recently because I ditched it for a few months and I really started taking advantage of it just, let's say, May, June. So I think it really helped boost my art because with pen pressure, I'm more used to doing animation. With pen pressure, it's really hard to get that air of consistency with pen pressure to animation because every frame you draw, the strokes are going to be different widths. But since I'm drawing just a regular still image, I realized, why do I have to do that? So I decided to use pen pressure again, and I have to say, it looks really good. It's base coloring time. And this is probably the most boring stage because there's really nothing to it. All I do, I just use the color picker with the references, the refs that I have, the character refs that I made, and I just fill, and it's really like not that interesting. So I try to get through it as fast as I can. But through this phase, I also like to straighten some lines and fill in some gaps using, and that were created using the pixelated pen. The next stage is shading, which is honestly pretty fun because I can just wing it basically and get away with it and it will still look pretty good. Obviously, like I said before, I'm using colors from the refs, but some shapes on the refs, some areas don't have multiple layers of shading, so I have to actually go in the color picker and actually pick it. But I don't really mind that because I know how to make colors like look coherent with each other. While I'm shading, I also do a little bit of highlights, but be wary because excessive highlights look kind of tacky if you're not doing it right, especially in the cell shaded style that I'm going for. So use them conservatively. Next is the background. I actually love playing around with the colors on these because, you know, there's no really set method to do a background, in my opinion. I just play around with it. Others may have different opinions, but that's just how I roll. I tend to have the color of the background complement the character that's on the screen, or some element of the character that's on the screen. For this one, the natural complement would be blue because the main palette is orange and brown. But when I used it, I decided it was too jarring. It was too hard on the eye, so I decided to go for a lighter orange, and I think it looks pretty good. I also put a little bit of pizzazz on it. I used a white outline around the character in some parts of the character to like kind of emphasize it. And I also, for this one, this was new. I actually used speed lines near the charge of the fist, you know, the anticipation of the fist, to actually show where it's gonna go. I didn't really use that before, but this was my first time, and I think it looks pretty good. Obviously, I put my logo there like I always do. This is actually a new method of putting my logo there. I usually just slap a PNG of what I have, but now I actually kind of redraw it so it looks rudimentary, but like in a purposeful way. It's kind of weird, but I started doing it recently. I think I really like it. Fun fact, the more I actually look at Eva's design, the more I notice that the petals on her head are like apple jacks. So that's pretty interesting. I didn't really notice that when I was first creating the character. With that, we're basically done. This is a rough breakdown of how I would draw portraits usually. So you can check out how the other portraits look, the tons of other portraits look, on my Twitter, or you could just stay for updates on possible other speed draws.
Well done!